Hans here.
Yo,
How
sup?
How are you doing?
Gang signs. I'm okay, man.
So, we were talking about reason for working just now. What is your reason for working then?
My reason for working is for sure it has to be it's driven by monetary value to the most part. In other words, salary is still very important to me. But I think if you're on that salary treadmill for a very long time, then you get very jaded, very disenfranchised. And that mentality alone will not really get you anywhere. You know, when I talk to my friends about salary and money and that kind of thing, right, we always talk about this concept of rich versus wealthy. So someone like LeBron James, rich guy, gets millions of dollars, Nike throws shoe deals at him worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But who are these people who are paying him? This is real wealth, right?
Oh yeah.
Basketball team owners and people who run shoe companies. These are the people who are wealthy.
Yes.
And coming back to the normal salary man, it's fine to have salary, but at some point in your life, you need capital, and you hopefully have this capital to invest in something, launch a business and all that, which will set you apart from normal salary people. And this capital you can get a few ways. So let's say if you're very lucky, then you get inheritance. Straight away you have a windfall. If you invest your money, hopefully you get a multi-bagger stock or you flip a couple properties, then you get big amount of capital, right? If you work in a startup and you own some equity and one day hopefully you exit, then you have another windfall of capital there. So by capital I mean a big amount of money, many times your yearly salary, and you get it all in one windfall, right? Or maybe you wait until you are C-suite. You know, you work very hard, you get to C-suite, and then you earn the big bucks, you earn the big stock options and things like that. Then you get your capital. So my advice for people who are working is to always try and find a good salary job for starters, but then look at how can you get your capital. And with capital you can then build wealth. True. And then you can come back to unlimited resources, right?
Talking about it, right? I think one thing that these days people talk a lot about entrepreneurship. You know, people want to do startups, this and that, because they see that as the way to be very successful, leave a name, you know, become very rich, you exit with $1 billion, right? But actually, many people also forget that there's these things called corporate entrepreneurship. Right?
Intrapreneurship.
Intrapreneurship. But the point is, like what you say, it's all about, as you get the salary, although it's not your business, but try to think of it like a business where you get the income, bring it in, hold it there, and then use that capital to build up wealth for yourself. Either you have the appetite for business, then invest in business. If you do not have, then just do normal investments like stock market, you know, or buying a property or something like that. And then with that, using those to create a passive income.
Or wealth accumulation, right?
Yeah, wealth accumulation.
So in terms of...
even StashAway, right?
Of course. StashAway. Why else am I here, right? I think when it comes to your career, it's also high risk, high return. Right? And high risk, high return also comes with its ups and downs. So in the highest or most risky part of the equation, you're talking about a startup founder who starts a tech company or an SME and tries to grow a business out of that, can go bust, can become a unicorn, anywhere in between. In the middle, you have someone who is maybe new to a company. It doesn't matter whether it's a new venture or a tech startup. If you help to build a business on the ground level, you want to try and get equity or a slice of the company or profit sharing as part of your terms of working there, because presumably they bring you in because you have certain expertise to contribute to the business. So that is the middle ground, right? You're not really risking capital, but you're perhaps risking your career trajectory to try something different, to take a chance on a business that could grow with your help and your team. And then at the far end, low risk, low return, you know, very, very stable jobs in big companies, things like that, which will give you a very stable return. So if your career is risky, then you must also think about your investments. How does that impact your investments? For example, if you live a life where you work on commissions, sales jobs, then your income is going to be like this. So when you think about your investments, you want something that's very steady, like bonds, like REITs, like slowly grow, so that your overall net worth is not so volatile. But if let's say you work with the government, or you work in a big bank, a big four, you work with a stable startup that has started to make money, or a tech startup that has been well funded, then you're quite stable. So what you want is to perhaps also take more risks so that you can get wealth accumulation down the road. So don't just think about your career as, I wake up in the morning, boss tell me to do what, you know, that's not someone who's super motivated and and inspiring.
Talking about it, right? Just what we were talking about, like if let's say you choose to risk your career and leave your current job, and your current job maybe you're working in Accenture or you're working in some like big
Four,
consultancy firm, Big Four or Big Bang, you know,
Big banks.
and then after that you choose to leave and then going to a smaller company because they want you in. Maybe they give you a lower salary or even just a matching salary, but the future prospect may not look as great. But nonetheless, if that company were to make it, they will make it big, and you will be like the first few employees of Google, you know, that kind of thing, right? Just now you also gave an advice about making sure that you negotiate your, I mean, kind of like, you didn't really say negotiate, but kind of like the hints of it, knowing what to ask for in terms of equity and so on. So you want to give a little bit of tips for people who are currently working and they may be considering of changing their current career into a smaller company or something like that. What are some of the tips to actually negotiate for a good package?
I will say that the word negotiate can be quite adversarial. So I would say actually it's more about trying to find a balance between both parties, because obviously you don't want to negotiate such where from day one it's already like they think you're there for the money, right?
Okay.
So it's also about getting a fair deal for both sides. But I would say from my experience, it's about firstly choosing to join a company that has a few attributes that you can identify and that you can use that to make a confident decision.
Okay, so the first thing is choosing a company with a few attributes that you're confident of.
Yeah, so it could be things like, is this company well funded, right? So if you're looking for security, you know, you want the company to be at least Series A or Series B, at least it has proof of concept, right?
There's already someone at the back there.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a MVP or product market fit is already there.
Exactly, yeah. And then secondly, you'll be working with entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs want to change the world. They're a little bit crazy, so you must make sure that you jive with their level of crazy. So make sure you have a cultural fit that fits the firm. Otherwise, you'll just be jumping into somewhere from corporate into startup and completely be underwater and lost, right? So I highly suggest you looking at culture as well.
Look at the culture. So if you're going to look at culture, how do you assess that? Because that is one of the toughest part to assess, right?
It's tough. It's all gut feel, but at the end of the day, make sure you speak to all the co-founders. If they have 1-2 co-founders, or talk to all of them. Try and talk to people that you'll be reporting to if you're not coming in at a senior level. Try and talk to your peers.
Alright.
And also try and talk to people who have worked with these co-founders.
Is there any tips on what are some of the questions that you should ask the founders that you may be working with?
I think asking them about their own startup journey is important. Why they started to found the company. You want to get a sense of their motivations and the kind of company they're trying to build. Right? Because you don't want someone who wants to create a flash in a pan, right? Like startups these days, not all of them are created equal. Some of them have different motivations. The thing that made me want to work with these people was the fact that they wanted to really build a business, not to just have a startup, hype it a lot, and then sell it to the highest bidder. You know, you're not gearing the business for that. You're gearing the business to hopefully create money one day and like really create value. So that appealed to me. And the third thing I would say, on top of culture and on top of financial stability is really the third one, which is, do you believe in the product? Do you like the mission of the company? It could be a service, it could be a product. And you know, you gotta throw yourself into this company, right? There's less of you running around compared to a big company. So you need to care about it. Whether it's e-commerce, ride-hailing, e-payments, fintech, whatever, you need to like the product. You need to love the product. So yeah, I think those three really important. So once you've determined all that, then you talk about being paid a fair salary, getting equity, understanding what are the other perks that come along with the job. If you're joining at a very, very early stage, you may not even have things like leave or insurance or whatever. So you really need to establish that they have those things if that's what you're looking for. If you're not, then yeah, just go ahead and join this startup. But what I did was, because tech is now a very established industry and fintech is a very established industry, so I actually did a bit of salary benchmarking where I called some recruiting firms to actually say like, hey, what would a country manager normally get? So when I got the offer, I knew whether it was fair, underpriced or overpriced. As an employee, you always want to be fair or overpriced. You don't want to be underpriced. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm cheap in the market and all that. No, if you do something well, get paid for it, right?
So what about yourself? What was the biggest challenge in setting up a team here?
I'd say setting up any team with quality is always going to be challenging. For me, it was really about who do you hire with the right skill sets to build a company that can really push this product in Malaysia. Because what we were geared for is to really market this product in Malaysia. Because we already have a product, we already have a CIO who looks after people's investments. It's really about how we can create new channels in this market, right? So I had to think about what the needs are and then hire the right kind of people. So I think in the beginning, I was really struggling to think about a number two, someone who I know or who I worked with before. So that was a real struggle, but I eventually found someone who was quite lucky as well. He was my colleague in a different department, and basically we were before this we were friends, and then I see him for lunch every month. But then I told him like, I'm going to this startup, it's going to be exciting, and he actually said, you know, like, let me know if something comes up.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to move, but if something comes up, I'll let you know. And it worked out. I think he took the risk as well, and ultimately he felt it was time to move on, and he joined me. And from then on, we built the team. We put in a compliance officer, we got a operations executive. Then we want to serve the clients really well, so we then ballooned from just 4 to now 12 and the rest of the people are in customer engagement. So they answer people's calls, they answer people's queries, and really delight customers in that sense.
You're talking about one of the toughest things was actually looking for people who actually is suitable for the role and can help you with it, right? So when we're talking about that, what are some of the things that you look for in a person like your deputy country manager? What are some of the things that you actually look for in that person who can really help you to be your second man?
I think it helps that you look for people with complementary skills and then together to do the job that you've set out to do. So with his case in particular, his asset management background was really impressive, and it was really much needed. So he can play a big role in terms of product innovation, designing and helping us do R&D around products that we can introduce in the future. So that was a very big thing. But also we wanted someone to look after higher net worth individuals, people who are affluent, more used to relationships and things like that. So we also wanted someone who was credible around slightly older people and who had the confidence to go out there and talk to CEOs, C-suites about their own investments. So he was a perfect fit. And then there's the emotional side of it, the EQ side of it, right? So we both have very differing working styles, and it's very complementary. So it's about that working relationship, I think, which is super important to have in your core team as a part of any startup.
And so before we end today's session, what are some advice that you would give for our viewers?
I think you come to Mr. Money basically to learn about your funds, right, and how to invest it wisely. I'll say the number one tip is always think about your personal circumstance and how you can plan for the future. And people who are young usually tend to procrastinate a lot. So I'll say just start today. Invest in something that you understand in, that is safe for your future. But the important thing is just start today.
Start today, do not procrastinate, because at the end of the day, I agree, the more you wait, right, the waiting time itself is an opportunity cost of loss. So if you wait for 1 year, if you could have just say that you put in something very simple, so you get about 6 to 7%, you would have lost 6 to 7% just by waiting for 1 year. Waiting for 2 years, compounding it over the years, it's a lot of money. Especially in the earlier days when you lose it, right? So starting now is especially important. Even when I first started, I didn't start with a big amount. I think there's one misconception a lot of people have.
You don't need tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Correct. Just start with a few hundred, start with even like 50, 200, 300 and slowly build from there as you have that confidence, then slowly add in more, right? I think that's something that is more doable instead of just not taking action and sitting there, because if you just sit there and look at it, you will never really know whether it's that thing for you or not.
Absolutely.
So how I judge it is, with a few hundred ringgit, I would have spent it on a nice meal with my family. Just use that as a capital for a business, right? Capital for future wealth. So we have come to the end of our ride.
This is home.
This is home for you. And thank you very much for being on our interview today.
Thanks, Peter.
Really great having you. You're always the go-to guy for me
Yeah.
for any interviews as well.
Yeah.
I've done 2 interviews with you.
Yeah.
So enjoy yourself for today.
Yeah.
I'll see you again next time.
Alright, bye guys. Thanks, dude.
See you, bro.
It's fun.